Back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Frost, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Deputy Secretary Turk. In my district, the University of Central Florida is currently working on dozens of projects funded by DOE grants. This includes $1 million to study Central Florida's risks down to the community level of the electric grid failure during severe weather. You know, when storms hit, and especially our hurricanes, because of the climate crisis, they're lasting longer, creating more devastation. And most of the folks who die during these hurricanes, a lot of them die post-hurricane because of the power outages, especially seniors who are unable to use a lot of their devices that are powered by electricity. So this has been the focus of a lot of my legislation, like the Safe Through Medicare Act. With the same goal, Florida received over $30 million in grid resiliency grants from the Biden administration this year alone. And I'm really happy to see that DOE's 2025 request would almost double the funding for the Grid Deployment Office, which is really important, of course, to my district, but to folks around the entire country, especially because we continue to see extreme weather events. Secretary Turk, how will the Biden administration focus on grid resiliency to protect Americans from extreme weather?
Well, thanks for your focus on this issue, and I don't need to tell you, living in Florida, what we're already seeing in terms of the impacts of climate change. More severe hurricanes, let alone the heat waves much of our country is facing right now. It was one of our national laboratories that actually took a look at the wind speeds and other factors and features of hurricanes and said we're probably going to need to have a Class 6 hurricane categorization just to deal with the increase in storms, the powerful nature of storms that we're already seeing out there. In fact, last year we had 28 separate billion-dollar weather and climate impacts in our country. That is just a remarkable amount of not only financial impact, but human devastation that's happening. And you're right to focus on grids. Grids are such a key part, making sure we've got resilient grids. Much of our grid infrastructure is quite old, and we need to make sure we're updating that. We're using the state-of-the-art technology. Thankfully, thanks to the President's leadership, Congress's support, through the extraordinary pieces of legislation, the bill and IRA, we have $25 billion to help on grid resilience. $7.2 billion of that over the last year has gone out to states and utilities and others to help on that front. We also have a regular budget as well that we're trying to do cutting-edge research and development on grid technologies, but trying to get those technologies out there as quickly as we can so that your constituents and others will have the reliability and resilient grids that they depend on and depend on.
Thank you so much. And because you brought up heat waves, you know, we know right now deadly heat waves around the country. I think it's a stark reminder of the fact that we need to get off carbon-spewing fossil fuels as soon as possible. Extreme heat kills more people than hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. Yet it's not necessarily classified as extreme weather emergency, and so that's something we're also working on. But this also means there'll be a greater demand for critical minerals, you know, that comes with its own set of environmental problems. Orlando's Precision Periodic, a local company that grew out of UCF's business incubators, recycling critical minerals from used batteries with the help of DOE's funding. How is DOE working to make sure that domestic critical mineral usage is less damaging to the environment?
Yeah, so we absolutely have to diversify our supply chains as we use more lithium, as we use more cobalt. Right now, a lot of that material, much of that material is processed in China. That's not good for our energy security, our economic security, our national security. So we're spending a lot of money and a lot of focus on not just the mining part, the processing part, but you're right to focus on the recycling part as well. As we have more of these minerals in our systems, whether in EV batteries or solar PV panels, or magnets or semiconductors, we need to have the research done now along the lines of what you're talking about so that we have those recycling programs in place, done environmentally friendly, done in a way that has U.S. jobs. We don't export material to be recycled elsewhere to come back into the U.S., and that's what we're spending a lot of time and focus on.
Last question, how important is grid integration into achieving President Biden's goal of having 100% clean energy by 2035?
So it's absolutely vital. We won't be successful not just in decarbonizing our grid, but frankly providing affordable power to providing resilient power in the face of additional climate disasters unless we invest in our grids. The grid is what literally connects it all together.
Thank you so much. I yield back, Mr. Chair.